The sky over Afarian 6 cracked open with a roar of violet fire. From orbit, the storm looked almost beautiful, ribbons of charged plasma cascading through the planet's ionosphere like slow lightning, curling and spitting across the polar dusk. But on the surface, it was nothing short of annihilation. At mining post V13, nothing remained, 12 hours earlier. The station had reported erratic seismic readings and unexplained electromagnetic pulses. Then came static, then silence. When Kael'thurni Command dispatched a scout drone to investigate, it transmitted a single corrupted feed before it was lost in the storm. A fractured image, corrupted by ion interference, but the silhouette was unmistakable. A chained creature, massive, organic, yet glowing like it had swallowed the stars. Entombed in a crystalline prison beneath the ice, and then white out. A flash of impossible light, the feed dissolved into cascading error code. The drone never returned. In the capital citadel of Kael'thurni High Command, holograms flickered above a circular war table as commanders argued in multiple dialects. This anomaly, General Korvax snapped, his voice cutting across the council, is nothing more than a remnant of pre-colonial superstition. A myth, it wiped out V13, another voice countered. That's not myth. Korvax's second eyelid blinked in irritation. We've contained this planet for 600 cycles. Whatever it was, it's still beneath the ice. It was imprisoned for a reason. The chamber fell into a tense silence. Whispers passed between aides, the celestial beast. The forgotten sentinel, Etherian, a relic from before the genetic ascension of the Kael'thurni species, before the Bioforge Wars, before the diaspora. Seal the region, Korvax ordered at last. No patrols, no broadcasts, nothing in or out. And if something is already asterisk out, the council's archivist asked quietly. Korvax didn't answer. Half a world away, buried beneath a satellite crash site in the Afarian wastes, a human named Karen Vale sat cross-legged inside a collapsed comms shelter, staring at a flickering screen. The signal had taken hours to decrypt. Most of it was garbled, a mess of magnetic data corrupted by plasma shearing, but a few frames were intact, one image in particular. He paused it, a creature impossibly large coiled in ice. Limbs shackled by glowing restraints, a face half covered by a helm of ancient design fused into the frozen vault. A single eye barely open, glimmering gold. Karen's throat tightened. "You recognize it," said a voice from the corner of the bunker. It came from a cracked voice box wired into a scavenged drone, a barely functioning remnant of a military AI named Lux. The AI's avatar was long gone, but its voice remained, dry, metallic, eerily calm. "I recognize the pattern," Karen said. "Whatever that thing is, it's sending out something. Not just energy, something deeper." Lux clicked softly. "It's not a signal, it's memory." Karen stood, brushing off frost from his shoulders. His face was gaunt, weathered by years of wind-burnt survival and too many near deaths. Scar lines crossed one temple like broken circuitry. His breath came in clouds as he zipped his coat shut. He stared again at the image. The creature in the ice wasn't screaming, wasn't fighting, it was waiting. "Then it remembers what they did to it," Karen said quietly. Outside the bunker, the tundra stretched like a dead sea of white stone, broken only by ancient pylons leaning at wrong angles, relics of a war that had never officially ended. Karen pulled a satchel over his back, slung a rail pulse rifle over one shoulder, and loaded a vial of core plasma into his boot battery. "You're leaving?" Lux asked. "I'm going north, toward the plasma shelf. That's suicide." Karen didn't respond immediately. He knelt beside a frozen crate, lifting out a cracked data drive and the last functioning aerial scanner he owned. "This isn't about suicide," he murmured. "It's about leverage." Lux hesitated. That thing, if it is what I suspect, it's not human. It's not anything anymore. You can't reason with something that old. Maybe not, Karen said, but I can give it a choice. He turned, gazing at the storm brewing on the horizon. The auroras twisted unnaturally, laced with violet lightning. The ice beneath his feet trembled in pulses, almost like breath. They've blockaded Earth for 50 years, he said. Burned colonies, enslaved hybrids, dismantled entire languages. He clenched his fists. If there's something under that ice they're afraid of, I want to meet it. At night, the wind howled like something feral. Karen set off on foot, a speeder too loud and too vulnerable in the open. For 2 days he climbed the ridge lines, navigating dead sectors, moving through half-melted ruins, where ice had fused with bone and metal. Each step closer, the dreams worsened. He saw flashes in sleep, eyes made of starfields, voices made of gravity. Pain stretched over centuries. He woke screaming once, half-choked in frost, the taste of static on his tongue. But he kept going. Finally, on the edge of the northern ice abyss, he found it. A gate built into a sunken cathedral of obsidian and frozen alloy. The entrance was ringed with runes older than any Caelthorny design, etched in a language that made Lux stutter just. Trying to scan it. In the heart of the chamber, buried beneath a lens of translucent ice, was the creature. Still bound, still glowing, still watching, Karen dropped to one knee, his heart hammering. The room felt like it pressed against his lungs. Then, quietly, like a whisper behind his bones, a voice spoke. You are not one of them. He froze. You walk alone. Like I once did. He didn't speak, couldn't. Why have you come? Karen swallowed. His voice rasped from days without warmth. To offer you a key, he said. Not as a master, not as a savior. He stepped closer. But as one prisoner to another, the ice shimmered. And something stirred beneath it. Karen Vale had long stopped counting how many days he'd spent in exile. The cold didn't bother him anymore. Not after 7 years on the edges of Offarian 6, a frozen prison disguised as a planet. His outpost, if one could call a buried shuttle husk an outpost, was hidden beneath glacial shelves, marked only by a rusted antenna jutting from the ice like a broken fang. He kept no flags, no names, and no loyalties, only heat, signal, and breath. He survived alone, not because he had no one to call, but because no one would answer. Once, he had been a lieutenant in the Terran Expeditionary Force, one of the youngest, to complete full survivalist certification for hostile planets. He'd led operations in ash fields, methane deserts, drowned moons. His record was near perfect until Varka 9, a mission gone wrong. A Caelthorny trap, a siege. Orders had been clear: recover the intel, extract if possible, prioritize the asset. Karen chose differently. 12 civilians, 2 were children. He'd found them inside a crumbling biodome, starving, their skin burned from environmental collapse. Command ordered him to leave them and continue pursuit of the data core. But Karen made a call. He disobeyed. He used their final evac drone to lift the civilians into low orbit, sacrificing both the objective and his only ride home. The children lived. He was declared missing in action. 3 months later, he was court-martialed in absentia. Marked compromised, labeled a deserter, the Terran High Command erased him from the registry. And he never tried to go back. Now he traded in what little leverage he had left: data packets, stolen maps, decrypted telemetry. He supplied rebel cells with movement log and exfil routes. He sold outdated Caelthorny encryption for food cartridges and fuel cells. Nothing noble, just survival. His only companion was the broken remnant of Lux. The AI had once been a battlefield sentinel, equipped with full tactical integration, emotional modeling, and environmental synchronization. In its prime, Lux had controlled drop pods, coordinated airstrikes, counseled human commanders on stress management and grief response. Now it was a single glowing core, slotted into a scavenged terminal in Karen's camp. And it still talked too much. "You didn't answer my question," Lux said one morning, its synthetic voice rasping through damaged speakers. Karen sat near a heat lamp, wiping frost from a sensor relay, eyes still dull with sleep. "You're going to have to narrow it down," he muttered. "The signal," Lux said, "from the ruins of V13, that thing under the ice. Why are you even entertaining the idea of going there?" Karen didn't look up. "Because something about it scared them." "That's not a good enough reason," Lux pressed. "You know what that thing was called in the Calethurni archives. I read the fragment." Etherian, Lux's tone flattened. "It's not a creature. It's a relic, a pre-civilization construct, sentient, yes, but older than language. They didn't bury it, they chained it." Karen finally looked up, the tired lines around his mouth deepening. "Why? Because it killed millions, before even the Calethurni knew how to name stars." Karen leaned back, exhaling through his teeth. "And yet," he said softly, "they didn't destroy it. They buried it, they feared it. That means it had a will of its own." Lux's core flickered. "You think it's your ally?" "I think," Karen said, rising, "if it once fought against them, then maybe it still remembers why." Later that day, Karen stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a shattered valley of black ice. The horizon pulsed with aurora heat, faint bands of electric blue, streaked with violet, bleeding across the dim sky. He pulled his coat tighter, then activated his tracker. The signal was still there, weak, fragmented, but constant. Beneath that valley lay the tomb. He hadn't made the decision lightly. Karen knew exactly how reckless it was to seek out something that even the Calethurni Empire considered untouchable. But what options did he have left? Every day, more Terran outposts went dark. Refugee arcs were shot down before they reached orbit. Resistance cells were running out of time, out of weapons, out of hope. He'd heard the whispers, that Earth itself would soon be surrounded. That the Calethurni meant to strangle humanity at the root, not just the branches. And what could one man do? Nothing, unless he found something they couldn't control. Something they feared. Something buried, bound, and forgotten. Something with a reason to hate them more than any human ever could. Lux interrupted his thoughts again. "You're not equipped for a confrontation." "I'm not going to fight it," Karen said. "What then? Free it." He didn't reply. "You think that thing will be grateful?" Lux snapped. "It doesn't understand morality, Karen. It doesn't owe you anything." "I'm not doing this for gratitude," he said. "I'm doing it because everything else has failed." The silence that followed wasn't agreement, but it wasn't objection either. Karen started walking again, the frozen wind biting at his face. Each step forward was a reminder he wasn't a soldier anymore. He was just a man with a choice, and he had already made it. Karen Vale stood at the edge of the Thunder Ring, an uncharted belt of magnetic storms that tore through the polar cap. Of Afarian 6 like an eternal scream, the air shimmered with electrical tension. Frozen metal towers jutted from the ground, bent and cracked, their surfaces scarred with centuries of plasma burns. Every few seconds, the horizon cracked with violet lightning, lashing the sky like a whip. Even the snow here didn't fall normally. It spun sideways, caught in turbulent eddies that hummed with invisible force. Lux's voice crackled in his earpiece, heavy with warning. "Crossing the ring is inadvisable. Field strength exceeds the human threshold for nerve stability. If the suit fails—" "I know the numbers," Karen cut in. He didn't slow. Each step forward was a negotiation with nature itself. The magnetic pulses blurred his vision. His joints ached as the nanofiber in his suit struggled to stay synchronized. For a moment, he could have sworn he felt something pulling at him, not the wind, but a kind of gravity. A directionless hunger. Still he pressed on, past the last coordinate beacon, into the dead zone. Beyond the thunder ring, the world changed. The snow grew quiet, the light dimmed unnaturally. And beneath his boots, the ice wasn't just white, it was glass. Smooth, rippled, with a strange glow pulsing far beneath, like veins under translucent skin. Karen descended into the ancient glacial valley. His scanner blinked. The signal was stronger now, more rhythmic. Not a broadcast, but an asterisk pulse asterisk. Organic, almost like a heartbeat. Then he saw it. Half buried beneath a collapsing ridge of frost was an arch, clearly artificial, but overgrown by time and mineral buildup. Vines of frozen crystal clung to its curves, and etched along the rim were glyphs in a language no Terran system could translate. Lux tried anyway. Architecture matches no known Kael'thurni subset. Material composition, partially organic, likely pre-Kael civilization. Possibly asterisk interstellar origin asterisk. Karen didn't answer. He was already moving forward. The structure beneath the ice wasn't just a ruin. It was a tomb. He descended into its depths, cautious, deliberate. Light sensors failed as he crossed the threshold. Only his visor's infrared layer remained functional. The air inside was dry and heavy, full of particles that shouldn't exist. His breath echoed strangely, as if sound itself resisted forward motion. Then he entered the central chamber and stopped. The room was massive, vaulted, lined with pillars of semi-organic stone. Glowing filaments wove through the walls like neural tissue. At the heart of it all, suspended in a massive lens of translucent ice, was the creature. It was unlike anything he'd seen. Etherian, twisted coils of flesh and light. Limbs like meteor fragments wrapped in liquid fire. A helm of unknown alloy fused into its face, yet its eyes, one shattered, the other glowing faint gold, were unmistakably alive. Chains of crystalline matter held it in place, looping around its form like sacred geometry. And from the ice, a low hum vibrated into the chamber floor, into his bones, into his skull. Karen, Lux whispered, almost in static, "Leave. Now this isn't a prison. It's a asterisk containment field asterisk. But Karen didn't move. He stepped closer. And then something asterisk responded asterisk. One of the pillars at the chamber's edge flared to life. A pulse of light ran up its length, activating a console-like interface. Symbols flickered into view. Hesitating only a moment, Karen reached out and placed his hand against it. The stone rippled, then shifted, adjusting to his fingerprint, his temperature, his biorhythm. The console accepted asterisk him. "What the hell?" he muttered. Lux's voice turned sharp. "This interface isn't keyed to DNA. It's keyed to memory signature, emotional resonance." "What kind of lock uses that?" "A moral one," Lux replied. "Only those who have asterisk been betrayed may unlock the gate." Karen's hand trembled slightly on the surface, and then the room pulsed again. Harder this time, not light, a asterisk voice asterisk, but not through sound. It spoke through the space behind his thoughts, raw, unfiltered. Deep, older than speech. "Free me or everything dies." Asterisk Karen gasped, taking a step back. Lux's voice returned, more distorted now. "It's inside your neural link. Sever the connection asterisk now." But Karen didn't. He was locked into that eye, glowing dimly through the ice. It wasn't pleading, it wasn't angry, it simply was asterisk. Timeless, waiting. "What are you?" he asked aloud. "I am what comes before the cage, and after the war." Asterisk Lux was panicking now. "Karen, it doesn't experience time like we do. It remembers centuries like we remember ours. It doesn't distinguish vengeance from justice. And neither do they, Karen said, stepping forward. You were betrayed, the voice said. So was I. His hand hovered over the activation node. Lux screamed through the comm. If you open that seal, Karen pressed his palm down. The chamber exploded with light, not destruction, *** release. The chains vibrated. The ice cracked, rippling outward like a star collapsing in reverse. The helm on Etherian's face shimmered, and the gold eye flared open. In the brief silence that followed, Karen heard one last whisper, "You are no longer alone." And then the storm began. The scream of cracking ice echoed through the abyss like a planetary death knell. Karen stumbled back as the containment chamber ruptured, a blast of cold and light sweeping across the room. The ancient bindings snapped one by one, crystalline chains vaporizing into streaks of plasma. Etherian fell from its prison in silence, as though gravity itself bent in reverence. It struck the ground in a half-kneel. Steam hissed from its body, if it could be called a body. Its limbs were long and asymmetrical, formed of radiant fractals and skeletal armor that pulsed with unstable energy. Its skin, or rather its surface, was constantly shifting, like light trapped within dark water. Lines of gold flickered beneath its translucent layers, as if stars had bled into its core. And then it rose. The chamber dimmed, as if unable to contain its presence. Its head tilted toward Karen, that one remaining eye golden and endless, locked onto him. For a moment time felt suspended, then Etherian moved. A blur of force. Space warped around it, and in an instant, Karen was pinned against a wall of ancient stone. No touch, just pressure, immense and invisible, like the air itself had turned solid. His pulse raced, his breath caught, his vision tunneled. Etherian floated forward, its voice, no longer a whisper but a mental quake, rattling through Karen's thoughts. "You are the warden." "No," Karen croaked, "I'm not. Your kind built the prison." His ribs ached under the pressure. Blood pounded in his ears. His hands twitched near the grip of his rifle, but he didn't move. "I freed you," he gasped, "because I know what it means to be betrayed." Etherian paused. The force holding Karen in place wavered, then vanished. Karen dropped to his knees, coughing, trembling, frost melting off his skin. Etherian hovered silently above him, watching. Karen raised his eyes. "I don't need your gratitude, but I need your choice." A long moment passed, then the eye dimmed slightly. "The enemy still rules this sky," Karen nodded. "Then we're not so different. They left the ruins together, not as allies, not yet, but as two beings with a shared rage buried deep beneath the frost." They traveled north toward the range, where Karen's last working skiff was hidden. The terrain grew harsher. Snowstorms arrived with no warning. Kael'thurni patrol swept the ice fields in tighter formations, searching for whatever anomaly had caused the energy spike near the Thunder Ring. The world seemed to no asterisk something had awakened. Karen rarely spoke. Etherian didn't ask. Their communication came in glances, gestures, and moments of silent understanding. Every few hours, Karen's suit sensors would flicker as Etherian's proximity distorted the ambient gravity. Even half recovered, the being radiated enough raw power to fracture metal. But it was dimming. Karen saw it, the way Etherian staggered when moving across uneven terrain, the way its light flickered when storms intensified. Whatever core had once fueled it, it was unstable now. Cracked, burning out, they had no time. On the fifth night, the sky lit with enemy flares. A Kael'thurni dropship breached the clouds, scanning the ice basin below. 3 scout walkers deployed, spider-like and sleek, scanning for traces of unauthorized activity. Behind them followed 2 enforcer drones, machine hunters with heat-seeking sensors and microplasma turrets. Karen cursed, pulling Etherian into the shadow of a fallen glacier ridge. "They're sweeping for something big," he whispered. "And they'll track your signature easily. Then let them find me," Etherian said. "That's not a fight you'll survive," Karen snapped. "Not like this." Etherian looked toward the sky, gold eye glowing faintly. "You mistake me. I do not fear death. I fear insignificance." Karen hesitated. Then a pulse from one of the walkers pinged near their position. Too late, Etherian stepped forward. Karen reached out instinctively. Wait, but the being was already rising into the air. The scout walkers locked on, turrets arming with metallic chirps. Energy built in their barrels. Etherian raised one hand. For a second, just a second, the snow stopped falling. And then gravity shattered. The basin imploded, not with sound but with absence asterisk. The walkers crumpled in on themselves, their cores folding as if reality had blinked. The enforcer drones flailed briefly, then exploded, torn apart by an unseen pressure wave that folded space around them like paper. It was over in moments. The sky flickered with the echo of the collapse. Etherian fell. Karen sprinted to catch him as best he could, but the creature's weight, no, its presence, was too much. It collapsed into the snow, limbs dimming, body spasming with chaotic energy. Karen dropped to his knees beside it. Lux's voice buzzed through his comms. "His energy lattice is destabilizing. That maneuver, he shouldn't have survived it." "Can I help him?" Karen asked. "He's not human." "You can't repair him, but you can protect him." Karen looked to the sky. Another ship would come. That display had lit up every orbital sensor in the hemisphere. He had two options, leave or stay. He looked at Etherian, motionless, body fading, breath, or something like it, shallow and distant. Karen clenched his jaw. He began dragging Etherian toward the cave mouth below the ice ridge, where signal interference would shield them for a few hours. Each step was slow, painful. His gloves burned from the radiation pulse still lingering on Etherian's surface. But he didn't stop. "You're not a weapon," he muttered. "You're not just a symbol, you're asterisk hope, and I won't let that die in the snow." Behind him, the wind howled. Sensors lit up again. But Karen kept moving. He didn't leave, he stayed. The gates of Northwatch Fortress stood like obsidian fangs buried in the ice, an ancient Kael'thurni stronghold carved into the frozen cliffside, cloaked in anti-orbital shielding and surrounded by a minefield of kinetic deterrents. Few dared approach it, none ever left, until now. Karen Vale crouched behind a fractured glacial wall, watching the patrol pattern through magnified optics. Snowflakes hissed on the lens, melting on contact, warped by the electromagnetic field surrounding the fortress. Beside him, Etherian hovered silently, a storm encased in flesh. Its energy shimmered erratically, recovering but not stable. In the dim light, its form appeared more defined than before. Leaner, sharper, almost deliberate, Karen spoke in a low voice. "Inside that facility is a relay tower. If we can get to it, I can send a burst across the long-range bands. Earth'll hear us, so will the colonies." Etherian didn't reply at first. "Then, you believe this message will change anything?" Karen adjusted a charge pack on his belt. "I believe truth still has weight, if it's loud enough." A pause, then let us make it louder. They moved like ghosts through the outer defenses, Karen disabling motion. Minds while Etherian bent light and gravity around their path, warping sensors with subtle pulses of its fractured power. Inside the fortress, Kael'thurni soldiers moved with precision, unaware of the storm creeping through their corridors. But what Karen hadn't expected was what they'd find beneath the relay tower. Holding cells, hundreds. At first he thought they were abandoned. Then he saw movement, pale shapes behind reinforced glass. Humans, or at least what was left of them. Bodies modified beyond recognition, flesh intertwined with synthetic limbs. Neural jacks drilled into skulls, spines reinforced with metallic braces. Their eyes were vacant, their movements synchronized. Not prisoners, subjects, test data. Etherian stood frozen, glowing veins across its body pulsing erratically. It stepped closer to the glass, one massive hand pressed against it. They used me. The voice cracked like breaking metal. Pieces of me, my cells, my code. My pain turned into this. Karen stared at the half-living shapes behind the glass. One of them, a girl, no older than 16 before the conversion, tilted her head and blinked at the sight of Etherian, as if some memory stirred beneath layers of reprogramming. Karen whispered, "These were our people." "No," Etherian hissed. "They are asterisk theirs now." The chamber trembled. Power surged in Etherian's limbs. Its light intensified, eyes glowing like miniature suns. And in that moment, Karen felt asterisk the shift. Etherian was going to obliterate the entire wing. Karen stepped forward. "Stop. They desecrated life." "I know," he said, "but what you do now decides what you asterisk are." "They are not innocent." "No," Karen admitted. "But they did asterisk choose asterisk this." The girl in the glass stared out, still blinking, tears welling in blank mechanical eyes. "They're victims like you." The glow around Etherian wavered. Karen pressed on. "If you destroy them now, then you're no different than the ones who put you in chains. You'll become what they feared, what they asterisk wanted asterisk you to become." A long silence. Then, for the first time since its release, Etherian stepped back. Its voice dimmed. "I remember their screams. The ones who asterisk were asterisk me before they tore them apart." "I believe you," Karen said. "But if you want to be more than a weapon, start by sparing those who never asked to be made one." The rage faded into something heavier, not peace, but restraint. Etherian turned away from the glass. Karen made his way to the central console. Lux interfaced with the relay, bypassing Kael'thurni encryptions, using spliced code from the old military archives. "This message will go out across every known bandwidth," Lux warned. "Civilian, military, commercial. Once it leaves, we can't pull it back." "Send it," Karen said. Within seconds, the fortress's communication relay pulsed with light. Data fragments, video logs, medical scans, all beamed upward toward Earth's orbital net. Footage of human prisoners, genetic blueprints copied from Etherian's stolen DNA. Weaponization protocols, proof, undeniable, the truth. But truth always came at a cost. Alarms screamed across the fortress. Reinforcements had arrived. Kael'thurni dread drones descended from orbit. And dropships unloaded elite shock troopers into the upper decks. Karen looked to Etherian. "We have to go. We've done what we came for." Etherian turned toward the corridor, its body crackling with unstable energy. "No," it said quietly. "What do you mean asterisk no asterisk?" Karen asked. "They will kill everyone in this facility, the modified. The wounded, you." Karen's voice hardened. "We can't fight a fleet." "I'm not going to fight them." Etherian's body began to rise, veins of gold brightening like starfire. "I'm going to erase asterisk them." Karen moved forward. "Wait, if you overload. It's not destruction, it's asterisk freedom." Asterisk Etherian, leave now." The walls began to shake. Karen hesitated only a second, then ran. From a safe distance beyond the outer ridge, he turned back and saw the sky open. It wasn't an explosion, it was asterisk release. Etherian's form expanded into a radiant sphere of gravitational collapse. The air bent, time slowed, particles scattered in chaotic spirals. And then silence. Every Kael'thurni unit within the radius vanished. Not vaporized, not burned, gone. Only the prisoners remained untouched. Karen stared into the glowing crater of what had once been Northwatch. Lux's voice crackled. He converted his core energy into a spatial inversion field. Sacrificed every last spark, Karen whispered, to save them. A single golden spark drifted down from the sky. Landing in the palm of his glove, he closed his fingers around it and walked into the ruins. The fortress was gone, what had once stood as an impenetrable symbol of Kael'thurni. Dominance now lay as a crater of lightless stone and melted alloy, silent beneath the eternal frost of Apharian 6. The wind no longer howled, it whispered. Among the wreckage, survivors emerged. Not soldiers, not rebels, but those who had been forgotten, modified humans stripped of their pasts. Memories fractured and limbs reshaped for purposes they never chose. Now they stumbled forward, dazed, blinking into the light of a freedom they could scarcely understand. Karen Vale stood among them, not as a liberator, not as a hero, but as a man carrying the final spark of something greater than himself. Ithurian's essence still flickered in his glove, a faint, golden warmth that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. He had tried to speak with it, to hold on to something that felt impossibly vast. But there were no more words, only presence, only goodbye. They buried what remained of the fortress beneath layers of sealing ice, both to protect the survivors and to mark the end of something ancient. The message Karen had sent from the relay tower continued to spread, bouncing across jump relays. Intercepted by neutral parties, by resistance enclaves, by disillusioned Kael'thurni civilians. And then the unthinkable happened. The silence broke. One by one, colonial outposts in the outer systems began to rise. Not in bloodshed but in defiance, flags came down. Broadcasts declared independence. Civilian councils rejected the genetic authority of the High Empire. Even some Kael'thurni dissidents leaked additional evidence, proof of a long-hidden program to weaponize sentient beings. For interstellar dominance, a storm of truth ignited. No wars were declared, yet the lines fractured. A neutral galactic council convened for the first time in over 2 centuries. Their first motion, to launch a full inquiry into the biological war crimes of the Kael'thurni regime. Investigators boarded dreadnoughts and archive ships. Some officers fled, some stood trial, and through it all the name *Ithurian returned, not as a myth or threat but as a symbol. Not of vengeance, but of transformation, Karen could have returned to Earth. He could have stood before the Senate, taken command of a movement, worn medals polished by those who once condemned him. They offered him citizenship, a title, a legacy he refused. Instead he returned to the tundra, to the silence, to the ice. There, amid the broken ridges and wind-sculpted valleys, he began to build. Not a fortress, not a rebellion, but a memory station, a place where the forgotten could be remembered. He named it the Archive of Echoes *, with help from hybrid survivors and a few rogue engineers. He constructed vaults carved into the glacial bedrock, powered by geothermal energy and shielded from orbital detection. Within these halls he gathered what remained: data fragments, voice logs, scattered journals from prisoners, corrupted AI cores with stories buried deep inside. But he didn't stop with human memories. He searched deeper. He dug into Kael'thurni myth, decoded alien syntax, translated the whispers of species long wiped from the stars. He recorded the pain of those considered beasts, creatures altered, chained, silenced. He recorded *Ithurian, not just its power, but its final words. One night years later, the blizzard settled early. Karen, older now, with more scars and fewer dreams, sat on a ledge of stone overlooking the site where Ithurian had once lain in ice. The crater had long since frozen over, but its center still pulsed faintly under the snow, a buried memory in the veins of the planet. He carried no weapons now, only a journal, and a name carved into the rock at his side. He sat for hours. The sky above was cloudless for the first time in weeks, revealing a field of cold stars. Finally, as the night deepened and frost began to gather on his coat, Karen leaned forward and whispered, not to the wind, but to what lingered beneath it. "I never asked for this," he said. "I wasn't brave, I just refused to keep running." He rested a hand against the frozen stone. "You could have destroyed everything, but you didn't. You made a choice." He paused, a breath, a memory. "And I did too." He smiled, not with triumph but with peace. "No one's born a weapon, but sometimes we have to choose a reason asterisk not to become one." And in the silence that followed, the snow stirred gently, like something listening, like something remembering.